Hello and welcome to Project Vayner episode 78. Um, First thing I'm gonna do in this episode is to mute myself so I don't hear myself. Yes. So, as I said, welcome to Project Vayner episode 78. Today we have another live episode. This time it's once again a guest from the States, another content creator that I've been following for a while. Super talented guy. I'm really excited to have him here as a guest on this episode. So I'm going to show you a short clip of this person, and then we are going to jump into the live episode.
Woo, that was so cool. I'm doing super, super well, man. That was awesome. You killed that. Hold on. Sorry, I'm totally playing it on the side too. Just watched it. I'm like echoing on myself. Dude, that was awesome. I'm so hyped right now. Thank you for making that. I'm doing super well, man. I'm excited for this. It's cool because I've known you, or I feel like I've known you for a long time, and like now here we are.
Yeah. Yeah. I think this is actually the
It's
first time we're talking with each other. But like you said, we've been in contact for a long time, so it feels finally we are doing this call. So yeah, but
I know it's literally been like 2 years,
yeah,
dude. Since we've like started following
mm,
each other, I believe, which is crazy.
yeah, and I think it's super interesting with what you're working with right now and like your journey of how you got there and how you wanted to work for Gary. So can you tell us a little bit about like what you do right now and how you ended up where you are today?
Yeah, man. So I'm the creative director for Ryan Serhant. For those of you who don't know, Ryan Serhant is a real estate broker. He's on a TV show called Million Dollar Listing New York, and I basically uh, create the content. I didn't start his YouTube channel, but now run his channel and kind of just the little social media empire behind it. That's kind of what I do, man. So in simple terms, I'm a vlogger. I make video content. I'm a creative, right? I'm a storyteller. Yeah, that's kind of what I do in New York
Mm,
City. Yeah, thought I'd plug that in there.
yeah. So yeah, you said you worked for Ryan Serhant, and but you wanted to work for Gary Vaynerchuk. So tell us about
100%.
that and the Instagram account that you had for that.
Yeah, man. Gary Vaynerchuk changed my life. Um, Dude, 2017, like you want like the full story? Like you want to go deep? Because we can
Yeah,
go
yeah,
deep right now.
sure.
Let's go deep,
Let's go.
man. 2017, end of 2016, start of 2017 was probably like the hardest point of my life. Like I like to call it a rock bottom. And I like to say that I found Gary at the right time because that's when I just didn't really care about anything and really was kind of just giving up on life. And I found Gary, and a good friend of mine named Miguel. He connected me, not connected me. He put me onto Gary's content, and I was immediately hooked. It was the whole calling me out of my bullshit type thing, and started getting into making videos and stuff like that. And Before that, I had a YouTube channel with my kids, and I loved it, but I never thought it can go anywhere because I had a day job that I was in deep with. Right, I was there for 7 years, um, and there was a video that Gary put out September 13th of 2017, and the video was called "Looking for Creatives." And that night, dude, I basically put together a website called workforgaryvee.com. And I was like, you know what? I'm also going to do the social media stuff. So I got all the handles, work for Gary V. And that entire night, dude, I basically built the website, all the social handles. I made tons of micro content because like I saw that as a way out, dude. Like I was at this job that I hated. I didn't go to school. Part of Gary's thing was like, if you're talented, you're talented. Like school's like kind of useless. And I was like, yeah, dude, like I agree. And didn't really know what I was gonna like. I didn't really think about the idea of moving to New York. I just knew that I wanted to work for Gary, whatever that looked like. And so I did, dude. And like that's where the whole thing started. That's where the momentum started.
Mm.
And every day, dude, I was just making micro content, like just doing everything I could, really diving into that Gary Vaynerchuk community. Vayner Nation is
Mm.
I don't know if they still go by that, but that was my thing, man. Making as many connections as possible and just really trying to like make a name for myself and really trying to learn because like I didn't have much experience outside of that. And there was one day where I saw that Gary was launching some shoes. It was the ones. It was the green ones. And I made a piece of micro content that caught their attention. It was like D-Rock's attention because Complex wanted to post it, and so they asked me for permission. I was like, "You guys could do it, but you should probably ask them. Like ask them like
Mm.
if they're cool with it." And that's how I got noticed. And D-Rock DM'd
Mm.
me one day saying, "Hey, dude, I'm gonna be in LA. Let's jump on a call." I was like, "Oh my god!" And it was supposed to be the next
Oh.
day, and that call never came. And it was like that weird time when they were traveling a lot
Mm.
between the UK and then throughout the United States. So I didn't get that call. And I'm like, damn. But I knew that that weekend they were going to be at Complex
Mm.
Con. So I drove basically to LA, which is because I'm originally from California, just to give everybody some context. Um, it's a 6 hour drive. California is really long. So I drove 6 hours down. I had to call in sick at work. So I drove to LA and I went to Complex Con and I stood in line to talk to Gary. Um, and David recognized me and that was crazy. I was super starstruck and that's the first time I met that whole little
Right.
squad. And
When was this?
David, this was November
Right.
2017. Yeah. That was Complex Con, yeah, 2017. And David pulled me to the side. He's like, "Yeah, like we'll talk soon. Sorry, life's been a little hectic, but I told you we jump on a phone call and we'll totally do it." I was like, "Awesome, cool." So that night, I drove back 6 hours again back
Mm.
home to Northern California, and this is now that was a Sunday. So Monday, I'm at work again. I'm exhausted. And I get a DM from David. He's like, "Yo, dude, let's have a quick meeting, VaynerMedia LA tomorrow." And I'm like, "Oh no," because I had just driven
Yeah.
down and I knew I worked tomorrow. So I told my manager, I was like, "Yo, you're gonna hate me, but I have to call in again."
Mm.
And thank God, she was super supportive. At the time, she wasn't,
Oh.
but she understood there was a bigger picture, and she's like, "Oh, okay, Adrian, you're killing me, but go for
Mm.
it." And so I called in sick again, drove. I don't think David really knew how far like I
Mm.
lived from LA, but whatever. I was about it. So I drove back to LA, had the meeting, and I was super excited. And David asked me, he's like, "Yo, let me see some of your client work." And I had zero client work. I had nothing to show, dude, because I didn't do this. Like, I wasn't a videographer. I didn't know how to use a camera. I barely knew how to edit. Everything that I learned was just via YouTube,
Mm.
and I didn't have anything to show other than like the micro content that I took from Gary's vlogs and made it into
Right.
what it was. And he's like, "All right, man, like I really like you, but I need some more. Like I need some work. I need some examples of
Mm.
work." And like it was devastating. I was so sad because like I feel like I was so
Yeah.
close, and it didn't go anywhere. It didn't go anywhere, and the year was ending, and I was getting to a point, dude, where like Gary always said, like, do your actions match your
Mm,
ambitions, right? And I was like, you know what? I just need to be in New York. I don't know exactly what I'm gonna do, but I know where I want to be. I know the Gary V like model. Like, how bad do I want this?
mm,
So literally on my 7 year anniversary, November 17th, I put my 2 week notice in at Verizon, which is like a cell phone company here in the
mm.
States, and I quit. I was terrified, terrified,
Uh,
and I quit, dude. I quit, and I asked my children's mother for permission to give me a year to move to New York. Um, and she was cool with it. She's like, "Hey, you have a year. Do what you got to
mm,
do." And like I knew that I had to make it count. I knew that I was sacrificing a lot. A year away from my
mm.
kids. I quit my job that was like basically taking care of me.
Yeah.
And January 8th of 2018, I landed in New York. And I've been here ever since. And fast forward, well, no, I guess I can take you to that journey
Mm,
too. Throughout those first couple months, dude, like I was just trying to do all the free work, get the client work down. Um, so I was working for free. I was very fortunate to like have some money saved up so I could survive the first couple months, but didn't realize how expensive New York was. So I was like running out quick, and I was just literally working for anybody that I could for free, just to like get that client work
mm,
under my belt. And every now and then, like I'd like get in touch with like Gary's team, and it was like super encouraging.
mm,
At one point, I stumbled upon this kid named Adam Hamway, and he was starting Ryan's YouTube channel. And I met him through this other girl who her name was Ashley
mm,
Cacciadori, and she was part of that Vayner community. Um, and I didn't think I was going to go anywhere with Ryan. I just knew that Ryan was like somebody that I can help provide value for to get to the Gary V thing. And dude, I was running out of money, man. I was running out of money quick, and there was a point where this was like May, dude. I was already freelancing with Ryan for a little bit, not for a lot, but just in there. And there was a point where I had like $11, $12 in my bank account,
mm,
dude. Like I was getting ready to call my mom, asking her to one, let me borrow some money, or two, just fly me back to
mm.
California. And that same day, dude, I get a text from Ryan asking me to be full time on the team, and I started crying, dude. It was
Yeah.
super surreal.
Wow.
And by that time, I had like made friends with like Tyler
Mm,
Babin, D Rock, and a couple of the like Calvin
mm,
Hamilton. So some of the Vayner people, but like not with the purpose of like working for them, but just because I genuinely thought they were really cool
mm,
people and like very creative. And Tyler's like a good friend of mine, and he inspires me. Like he's such a cool creative, but I never really used those friendships as like to get my way through the in right.
mm,
Um, anyways, so I finally like got committed to Ryan, and this was May 14th of 2018. June 3rd, I get an email from D Rock saying, "Yo, dude, I need you on Team Gary V. You down?" And I'm like, "Oh no! Like this is literally everything that I wanted. Like this is what I like gave up
yeah.
everything back in California for." And I talked to some people, and I talked to Ryan, and Ryan was super supportive on like whatever route I decided to go.
Mm,
And I was kind of just like I took a step back, and I was like, listen, dude, like Gary already has his team. It's built. Like it's already this massive machine. And if I join this machine, I'm gonna be a small piece of this
mm,
massive machine. And I thought to myself, like Ryan, like he's super ambitious, he's super hungry, and he's very motivated to build that same
mm,
machine, if not bigger, right?
yeah.
And I love that. And I was like, if I join Ryan's team and just decide to stay here, I will have much more impact. I will
Mm,
be a bigger piece of this machine that's super small and that will potentially
mm,
grow. And that was kind of the decision maker for me, dude. And June 4th or June 5th, I sent that email to D Rock basically saying that I am very thankful that he reached out because he validated everything that I work
mm,
for, but I respectfully declined. And that was probably one of the scariest moments of my life, dude. Because everything I've worked so hard at, I basically said no to. And I didn't know like if Ryan was super serious. Like, I mean, like I really believed it, but like I wasn't sure,
Mm.
right? And it was more of a challenge for me to help build this thing with Ryan. And fortunately, things have worked out. I believe in this concept of burning your
Mm.
boats, and the whole concept is basically putting yourself in a position where you don't have an option to go back
Yeah.
to. And moving to New York was the first ship that I burnt because I didn't know anybody here. I knew that I had to survive. I knew that if I left everything behind in California and moved to New York, it wasn't easy to go back. So I had to figure shit out in New York. And that was kind of the same thing with getting the job with Ryan. Like I burnt that boat of working with Gary. So now I'm in this like, fuck, okay, now I have to make this Ryan thing work.
Mm.
And we're making it work, man.
Yeah.
Did I answer that question? I feel like I talked a
Yeah, but it was
lot.
super interesting. It's such a story how you how everything started and how you like just started with a goal and good intentions, trying to create bring value to people, like even creating stuff that you wasn't paid for, just to like show what you could do. Um, and then yeah,
Yeah.
just like you said, like putting everything on one card and just quit your job and moving there. Um,
It, it, yeah, man. It was literally that. It
mm,
was that your actions match your ambitions, and like it's the stuff Gary talks
yeah.
about, like just looking at yourself and like auditing your life. And I knew I wasn't happy. I knew I was like what I knew that I could do more and offer more, and I just wasn't in the right spot. So I was like, okay,
Mm,
cool. I'm gonna make these actions match, and here I am.
yeah. So, like
Crazy.
from the start, you said D-Rock was reaching out to you. Did you contact them first, or was you like popping up
Yeah.
in the feed for them, or?
No, it's funny too, because the first times I met them, I apologized for being so annoying because I would spam the comment
Right.
section. I would DM them all the
Yeah.
time from like my personal account and my work for Gary Vee
Mm.
account. I was very, I didn't want to say persistent because like I was annoying. And now in retrospect, I think I would have done that a lot
Right.
differently. I actually had really good advice from, I think what really changed things was advice from my friend Lucy. She said, "Why don't you just send them a Google Drive of a ton of content that will help them, and just make
Mm.
the subject line. Here's a bunch of free content. That's it." And I was like, "Whoa, that's so
Yeah,
smart. Just
that's a good
like
idea.
give them all the raw all like the raw pieces of content, and like that's it. Don't ask for anything, but just give as much value as
Mm.
possible, and then that's that." And that piece of advice really like that's when everything clicked.
Right.
I was like, instead of just being annoying, I'm just gonna provide value and just let that speak for
Mm.
itself. And it did. And like that's kind of how like the snowball started like getting bigger,
Mm.
right? Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, that's a really good advice
Crazy.
actually. And
Yeah.
I want to. I'm trying to think how like how this can be as valuable as possible for the people that are watching this, and how you then got the job for Ryan. Is that like, did you have like a similar approach to that you were contacting him, or was it?
No, well, I owe a lot of this to building my community,
Mm,
really caring about like the people around me, and through those connections, like you meet certain
yeah.
people. So I was very fortunate. I was very lucky to have met Adam
Mm,
Hamway. But it was lucky, but it was because I put myself in those positions, right?
right.
I put myself within that community, and I met Adam, and I made it clear that I'm in a mission to help these people and provide
Mm,
value, but with making this content, and he liked that. I wasn't annoying about it. I let the work speak for itself.
mm,
I didn't let my persistent, like annoying DMs be what was going to define me. Because
right.
like now I'm in that position. Now there's so many people like reaching out to
Mm,
me, figuring out how to work for Ryan, and the people that I pay attention to
yeah.
are the people who aren't annoying. And I hate saying
Mm,
that, but like who show me value before like just telling me they could do stuff, but
mm,
showing me they could do stuff. The people I pay attention to are the people like basically that like, hey man, I made
mm,
this, then that's it. Not just like, hey man, I want a job. This is who I am. This is what I
yeah.
do. as opposed to like, hey man, I made this for you. Let me know if this works. That's it. Those are the people I pay attention to, and those are the people that I will
Yeah.
hire.
That's an interesting aspect also, hearing it from you when people are reaching out to you the way you were reaching out to Gary before.
Exactly. And I've only noticed that when it was like when I was in that
Mm.
position. I'm like, oh shit,
Yeah.
okay, cool. So it's literally that, dude. Like they trust me,
Mm.
dude. They see like they'll anybody who's trying to work for Gary and you're like
Mm.
annoying, they will see you, they will notice you. But again, if there's no real value
Yeah.
being offered, then you're just another like Gary V fan trying
Mm.
to get their attention. Like you have their attention,
Yeah.
but now it's just like so do a lot of other people. So now what do you do with
Mm.
that, right?
And
That's the turning point.
yeah, and especially for us like content creators that even are creating videos or taking photos or stuff, it's so visual, it's so easy to show what you can do. So I
100%.
mean, you just like take advantage of that when trying to apply for a job. Just
Exactly.
show instead of talking, basically.
Exactly, dude. It's basically actions speak louder than
Mm.
words, man. And like the more, like the longer like I live, the older I get, the more I understand that, and that's such a real piece of advice
Mm.
because anybody could talk, anybody could speak ideas, but if you don't do anything with those, if you don't do anything with it, it's just meaningless.
Yeah.
It's shit.
Uh,
Yeah.
I want to jump back a little bit on when you moved to New York, because I'm curious myself how you uh, actually got there and how you got somewhere to live and got like
Mhm.
money to pay for rent and stuff, because I heard it's
Yeah.
um, quite hard to find some place to live there.
Yeah. I mean, it is and it's not. Like, so I was working for Verizon for the last 7 years before that, and it was again, it was a good job. It was a retail job, and it was just wearing on me mentally. But I was very fortunate to have like a 401k, like a savings account that I was able to withdraw when I
Mm.
quit. Unfortunately, they like tax you a lot, but because I was there for so long, I was able to like save up enough money, and even
Mm.
with that cut, I was able to save like a little bit of money. And so typically you can't touch that money until you're 55
Mm.
here, without being like taxed or penalized. But like I knew that withdrawing it now, although I would lose a lot of money, it was worth the investment in me chasing my
Right.
dreams, right?
Yeah.
So that was that. So I was very fortunate there. Um, and then the finding a place, dude. It, I don't regret this. Excuse me. How do I say this? It was very sketchy in retrospect.
Right.
Like I just found a place on
Yeah.
Craigslist. I was on a phone call with him, and he's like, "All right, man, you sound interesting. Send me $2,000, and that'll be your security in your first month." And I was like, "Okay, like that's a lot of money, but
Yeah.
whatever, let's do it." And I was very lucky when I arrived that like it was not a
Yeah.
scam. But
You just sent the money,
what I
or
do recommend, I sent the money,
oof.
dude. I sent the money, and like looking back at it now, that could have gone really
Yeah.
bad. But again, that was very
Yeah.
lucky. The way that I would approach it now is use the internet,
Mm.
dude. Like, I had this old roommate, an old friend. His name was
Mm.
Josiah, and he moved out here, and he did it with by contacting me, and I was able to help him find something. So, like, if for anybody wanting to move out here, like, find a New Yorker that like you
Mm.
have some type of relationship with via social media, and use
Yeah.
them. Like, use them to like for guidance because they'll know the city a lot
Mm.
more. Like, I should have done that a lot better. Like, I knew a handful of people, but just was too shy to ask
Mm.
them for like help moving out here. But like it's probably a lot safer. And New Yorkers are very nice people. Like a lot, contrary to what other people believe, like we're super nice and we're willing to help.
Mm.
So hit me up and I'm happy to help you. Send you websites, especially if you're like from another country. There's a lot of places who will sublet rooms to like people who maybe don't have established credit
Mm.
here, stuff like that. So there's definitely
Yeah.
options. New York, dude, New York City is a place where if you want anything, you can have it. You just have
Yeah.
to be willing to work for it and
Mm.
find it, you know? And it's kind of that thing too, dude. Like if like it's not that hard to find a place, dude. Like if you're willing to like sleep in a
Mm.
closet till you find to get on your feet, like it's
Yeah.
available, dude. Like this city is massive.
Yeah. You're like a living proof that everything is possible. That's for sure.
Dude. It's crazy.
So
I'm very lucky, and I hate saying lucky because I really feel that I put the work
mm,
and I risked a lot to be here, and it's like
yeah.
paying off, I think.
But like you said, I think um, you put yourself in the right situations also. So I think you kind of deserve the luck when you do the right stuff.
100%.
So
100%. It's that. It's like I feel like luck rewards those who are willing to risk the
mm,
most and work the hardest,
yeah.
right? Uh, that's kind of the position I fell into. I knew that I was gonna work my
Mm,
ass off, dude, because dude, the one thing I didn't want to regret, dude, is being away from my
mm,
kids and regretting that.
yeah.
You know what I mean? Like I didn't I, I wanted to make sure every minute count,
Mm,
dude. So like I worked my ass off every minute that I could because God forbid if something happened to my one of my kids and I wasn't there,
mm,
dude, I don't know what I would have done myself. So I needed to make sure that everything that I did, every minute counted,
yeah.
right? Do like super emotional right now, but dude, like it was like it was real,
Yeah.
man. Like I really thank my kids for that motivation to get here.
I want to hear a little bit more about your like current situation with Ryan and how your days look like when you're working from him. I'm really interested in that myself because I'm having like a similar job here in Sweden where I'm vlogging for an entrepreneur here in Stockholm. So I kind of want to hear like how does a regular day look like for you? Do you like how you plan the filming days or how many hours you put into editing? If it's like a set amount or if it's like depending on the content that you film or yeah,
Yeah, it's definitely evolved over time, and it's something we're constantly trying to
mm,
tweak, right? We want to be as efficient as possible,
yeah,
and now we have a theme going into it. So what I'll basically do is we film once a week usually. If we don't get what I feel like we should have got, then we'll film another day. But typically, I'll film them on like on a Thursday or Friday. And then I'll go through the footage. Like I'll loosely
mm,
organize it Friday. I'll usually take the weekends off to work on like my personal
mm,
projects. But then Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday is when I'm like in there, right?
right,
I'm in the edit. Um, Mondays typically I'll like start picking selects and like start chopping it
mm,
up, start putting things, and I'll also look for music that I think fits
mm,
that. And then by Wednesday morning, I'm typically done with it, and Ryan's giving me the
mm,
okay. Ryan likes to review a lot of the vlogs, and Wednesday we'll start making micro content. Although we stepped away from that, which I got to figure out a new strategy for that. But typically Wednesday we'll create like the thumbnails, we'll create meme
mm,
content, um, and kind of just perfect it.
mm,
Like I'll have some of my team kind of look at it and add their own little flares to it.
right,
But Wednesdays we'll upload. But going back to the theme, dude, we're very collaborative. So we'll touch on a topic that we feel strongly about or
mm,
something that's kind of like been bothering us. And it's cool because it's not just like Ryan coming up with
mm,
like stuff. It's like me or Joe or Jason. Um, and based on what that topic looks like, we'll look at his schedule and see how we can relate some of
ah,
those
right,
things to his day. So if we know he has a lot of developer meetings, we'll talk about I don't know, persistence and
mm,
why it matters when speaking to a developer, stuff like
mm,
that. So there is a lot of planning. We
right,
don't just wing it like we used to because it's a lot harder to create a
mm,
storyline as opposed to having a theme in mind and having talk tracks around that.
oh. So you you
Yeah,
you kind of have an idea before you even start filming about this is what the vlog episode is going to be about. So then you can kind
exactly.
of, as you're filming, kind of get the content that you need to create that story. Right.
Exactly, exactly. And it's crazy too because like a lot of our themes come from conversations we
Mm,
have. Like I'm very lucky that Ryan likes talking to me and my
mm,
team. Like we have a lot of deep conversations and they kind of just they they go into these tangents that like, wait a minute, wait, this is good. This is like a good conversation that we should talk about and like we can use this to like help other
mm,
people. And like that's typically where our themes come from. Um yeah, so that's usually that's our breakdown right
Right.
now. And it didn't start like that. It was very much like let's just follow him and see what we can
Yeah.
come up with. But it was so much harder to come up with an
Yeah.
edit when you kind of really don't know the
Mm.
storyline, you know? And you're just going through all this footage and you're like, fuck, like well, it's like it's a 1,000 piece
Mm.
puzzle and everything's just like super out
Yeah.
there. Whereas like if you have more of an idea, you maybe have 100 piece
Mm.
puzzle, but you know, but you have a better idea of like where to place things.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I don't know if that analogy made sense. It made sense in my
But
head.
you know which puzzle pieces that fits together. Yeah.
Exactly, exactly. There's bigger chunks to work
Mm.
with, which is easier.
So when you're doing the like micro content from this, is it like, do you decide beforehand like you are going to make one piece of content for Instagram, one for TikTok, or one for LinkedIn, or is it more like based on what kind of content that you catch that day?
It's tricky, dude. So we'll try to. One thing we really believe in is using the content that works best for the
Mm.
platform. For us, we've learned that Ryan's audience is very much still from the Bravo side, is like TV show
Mm.
side. So we try to like put like funnier, more real moments that kind of just shows Ryan's like lifestyle. And then we'll use like the more value driven content like on
Mm.
LinkedIn. But like I use like the nuggets I really don't think in advance. Like I'll from the edit as I'm
Yeah.
editing, I'll think to myself like, oh, this is a good nugget, and I'll just clip that and save it like another
Mm.
sequence on Premiere. Just save that for like a meme or a yeah, we call them memes. I don't know if
Yeah.
that's like the technical term for them. The micro
Right.
content. Yeah. Yeah.
Cool. Um. Yeah. And do you like does it vary a lot from episode to episode how much time you put into it, or
I typically as for like for the vlog or for like my time
uh,
editing the
yeah,
vlog
both the
or
vlog and like
just
the total time for an episode?
I usually lock it in.
Mm.
Like there's been some days where I will literally start and edit Wednesday morning and upload it Wednesday night. I try not to do that, and it's a terrible habit on my end. I'm a massive procrastinator,
Mm.
but our team is so lean right now where we have a lot of other projects in the
Mm.
works where I kind of like don't have time Mondays and
Mm.
Tuesdays. I like to give myself 3 days to like really crank out an entire
Yeah.
vlog, meaning the vlog, the supporting content, the thumbnail,
Mm.
all of that. Um, but if like the gun is to my head, like I can knock it out within a
Mm.
day, and I'm typically pretty happy with them. But that's a lot of stress,
Yeah.
dude. And like Thursdays, I'd be like worn out. I'm just like, oh, I don't want to do anything. I don't want to look at a computer screen on
Yeah.
Thursday. Yeah,
I feel like also
yeah,
sometimes when you have been sitting for a long time doing something, you kind of see it with new eyes after like going away or letting it rest
yeah.
over the night and then look at it the next day.
100%. Absolutely, dude. And I'm still
Mm.
learning too, dude. Like I only got into this world like 2 years ago. Like I'm still like I still barely know how to use a
Mm.
camera. Like I can barely edit. The thing that I focus on a lot is like making it look as good as possible, but focus on the story more. Focus on the value part
Mm.
of it. Like what's really going to help people more. And I'm saying that because like I'm still learning basically. Is what I'm
Mm.
trying to tell everybody. Like I'm still challenging myself to try new
Mm.
things during edits and stuff. Yeah.
So that actually uh, is similar to one of the questions that I have here about like what type of content that you want to create, or how do you want the people that look at your content to feel. Like if it's content that you want it to look as good as possible, or you want to like create value, or you want to be like as creative as possible and kind of surprise the viewer. Is it like something common with every content that you do that you want to communicate, or is it different depending
Yeah.
on the content?
It's all the above, dude. Like, of course, like I it's one thing that I've heard that really like I take into account when I'm making these vlogs. It's like people don't remember what you say, people remember how you make them feel, right? So if I can convey an emotion through something Ryan says, that's the shit that works. Like shit that really like sticks. So I try to get as much of that as possible, and like using like music to elevate that, or using angles to elevate that. But I really focus on the emotion of it. And I don't know if that makes sense, but like that's the thing I'm the most, right? Like, and then the visuals come after
Right.
that. Um, so I guess a common theme that I have is I'll try to start a vlog with a bang to just grab your attention quick. So there'll be a hook. And if you notice with most YouTube channels or most videos, that's kind of how it is. There's that hook. We done a couple of vlogs with Casey Neistat, and one of the pieces of advice that he gave us was if you have a clickbait title, you need to address it within the first 3 seconds to hold on to your audience, right? Address the clickbait, make it like let them know that that it's not clickbait, or yeah, and just keep it exciting, right? But you have to address it within the first 3 seconds and maintain their attention within the first minute, because then if you do that, the likelihood of them staying on the video is a lot higher. So I try to make my vlogs start with the clickbait, addressing the title and thumbnail, and then just keep it exciting, and then I just level it out.
Yeah, right. And like, just to be clear for the viewers, I think a lot of people maybe misunderstand the term clickbait, but I think clickbait can be both good and bad, because it's
100%.
basically trying to get the viewers' attention. But if you use clickbait in a good way, it's you also deliver on that attention by showing what you promised in the title, right?
Exactly, dude. Like you'll see clickbait that is like, "Oh my God, I won a new car," and if you find out that it's not, it's just like you lose credibility, right?
Yeah.
It's all trust. You build this relationship with your viewers, and so the more clickbait you have that doesn't match, like the content doesn't match that, then you lose credibility and you turn people off. So it's clickbait's great if it's used properly, right? Real quick too, I want to give like another quick piece of advice since we're like touching on clickbait. Another thing that I'll tell you that might surprise a lot of people, is we'll come up with a title and thumbnail before we shoot anything. We'll think of what the title is going to be and whether it's like searchable, and a clever thumbnail before we actually like dive into the video. A lot of YouTubers do that, which is super interesting. They work backwards. Thumbnails, I have a love-hate relationship with them because thumbnails are the most important thing. Unfortunately, you can have this great video, but if it's a shitty thumbnail that's oozing enticing, people watch it.
No.
And it's such a complicated thing. Do the same thing with the title. If the title doesn't sound interesting and the thumbnail doesn't look interesting, you can have a masterpiece, dude, but no one's gonna watch. It's super annoying. So like we spend so much time on a thumbnail and title, it's not even funny. And if you somebody I've been watching a lot too that people might hate, but I've been watching a lot of Logan Paul, and specifically his creative. They spend like 3 hours on the thumbnail and title. Wow. It's crazy. Yeah. Just goes to show how important it is. And it's funny because a lot of people think the opposite. It's like, oh, as long as the video is great, it'll do well. But if people don't watch the video, it doesn't do anything.
Yeah, it's so important. I think I spent like 30 minutes on the thumbnails in the beginning, and now I spend like 1 to 1.5 hours on it at least. Yeah, like you said, if you put a lot of hours into the editing and then no one notice it because you don't have a good thumbnail, then it feels kind of wasted.
It's so annoying. I hate it, but it's unfortunately it's the name of the game. It's part of it is what it is.
Yeah. So now when you're working for Ryan and doing these vlogs, how does the current situation affect you with the coronavirus and like everyone staying inside these days? Do you still vlog?
Yeah, Again, I'm very lucky. I'm still very, very fortunate to receive a paycheck and be able to work remotely. It does bring up new challenges though. Like, how do I go from vlogging somebody physically, like physically being with them, to not, right? But necessity creates, what is it? Necessity is the mother of invention. So I needed to figure out a way to create that content. So we got creative,
Mm,
dude. We started using Zoom calls. We
right.
started using cell phone footage,
Mm,
and we just got creative, man. And the people who don't adapt, dude, will unfortunately fall
yeah.
behind. So it forced me to be creative in ways I didn't think I'd have to be. Again, it's a new skill set that I have now,
Mm,
right? And it's all perspective, man. Like, you can think of this situation as like the worst period of your life, and it may be. I don't take anything away from that because it is a serious thing, but you could also use it as a way to really challenge yourself and really hone your craft, or start a project that you're to start, right? Um, but again, it's just it gave me that new skill set to think outside the box a little
mm,
bit in these times. So in the future, we're forever in this weird spot again. I know how to um, I know how to work through it
mm.
now.
I think it's a really interesting period right now because, like, when it's kind of similar to the situation where you moved to New York, like when you only have one choice, when you don't have the other choice, you kind of have to find a solution for it. And this is kind of what's happening with the whole world right now. Like, you can't meet, so either you can like give up or you can find a solution for it. So it really creates a lot of creativity and innovation and people finding new solutions to do the same thing. A lot of like for me, for example, instead of filming events, um, companies is now doing webinars instead of those events, and a lot of things is going online instead of offline. And there is a lot of stuff that we still can continue to do, just in a different way. So
100%.
yeah, I think it's interesting to see
Yeah,
what's
dude.
gonna come out of this.
100% perspective, dude. The people who are gonna win during this time are the people who just have a positive outlook in it
Mm,
and really like force themselves to try new things and just step on the gas even harder. You know,
yeah.
my friend Jeremy says, "Tough situations don't last. Tough people do."
Mm,
And that one hit me
yeah.
right. Um, yeah.
So before this whole Corona thing, when you were out vlogging as usual, how what was your like typical vlogging setup? If we going a little bit nerdy here, like what type of equipment do you use like every day for vlogging?
Yeah, I love it. So I'm a Sony shooter. I shoot with the Sony A7 Mark II. I'll typically shoot with the 24 to 70 G Master lens, which I think is super awesome. Um, Lately though, I've been digging the 16 to 35. Shoot wider, and I always prefer to shoot
Mm,
tight, just like tights and stuff. But like I've been falling in love with these like really wider angles and stuff. That, and then we'll use like a Sennheiser wireless mic. And That's pretty much it, dude. And if we are running and gunning, like where it's like something we plan
mm,
last minute, like I'll throw on a Rode mic.
right.
That's my typical setup. But like in my bag, I'll typically carry 24 to 70,
Mm,
a 16 to 35. I have two camera bodies. If we're gonna go film a keynote, I'll basically keep one, throw one on a tripod, and then I'll just go shoot the other one
right.
freehand. That's my setup, really.
Right. So then you use um, two cameras for filming stuff like that.
For filming
Yeah.
keynotes, because typically what I'll do is I'll keep one, I'll just let it record, just so that I can have one instant
Mm,
shot, and that's where the audio will come from. I'll attach the live audio to that,
right.
because when I'm running around, like, I'll like to shoot some stuff like in one to just get that really cinematic
Mm,
feel. Um, yeah, just so I make sure I'm capturing all the audio throughout the keynote.
mm, right.
Yeah. Typically, I'll only use 2 if there's like a keynote that we're going to.
Do you ever use like any lights, or do you usually use just natural lighting and
Natural lighting, dude. Like I said, I'm still like if you ask me how to set up a lighting thing, I couldn't tell you. Like I'm very I am not that technical, dude. I wish I could be. Like I don't know how to set up lighting. I'm still learning, dude. I keep it as raw as possible, run and gun as possible, and I figure out in the edit. Like if I have an angle where he looks like shit, but it's great, I'll find some cool B-roll to overlay to mask that terrible visual.
That's a really good tip, actually, for anyone that's editing and trying to hide something. You can always put some nice B-roll on top.
Yeah,
also hide the cuts in the audio if there's a lot of like silence or stuff like that. If you want to cut that out.
Yep.
Exactly. One thing I'm curious myself is, what do you shoot in Vlog, or do you shoot in some standard, or what kind of?
I shoot everything. I don't shoot in S-Log. I shoot in. I want to learn it just because you have more control. But just to make my edits easier, I don't want to focus a whole lot on coloring.
Right.
I'll shoot in Cine 4, and I have a go-to LUT that I use, and then like I tweak what I have to. But I shoot everything in Cine 4. It's just it's a good in between. Typically like know what I have to do, so I'll typically just have to up my saturation a little bit, up my contrast, and lower my greens, and I kind of just have it all set up already. Right. But Cine 4 has been easy for me. Other than though, I do want to learn how to shoot an S-Log, just to have more control.
Do you have different approaches for different type of content? Like, do you shoot one format for Vlog, but if you're shooting something else, it's another, or is it always the Cine 4 you're using?
I use Cine 4 for typically everything. The stuff that we like will do for like higher produced things. Like we made a course, and I didn't film any of it, but I was involved in a little bit of it. We shot that entire thing on S-Log, and it was mind blowing. And I got to see the editing and the color correcting and the grading done. It was just super fascinating. So I guess to answer that, for higher produced stuff, they'll shoot an S-Log. When I say they, we have a special production team that is also in house, but they really more focus on, again, just special projects like developer videos or like this high-end course. That's when they step in. They're more formally trained and stuff.
Right. Yeah, it's interesting to hear someone else's perspective also. And also someone that is using another type of camera. Like I'm using the Lumix GH5, which is not a full frame camera. So I notice in some situations that it's kind of hard to use it for vlogging when it's bad lighting conditions. And I've been switching back and forth between Cinelec D and standard and Vlog. But what I noticed with the Vlog is that you can't shoot in Vlog and also have ISO 100. You have to at least 400 or
1600.
Above. Yeah.
Oh wow, S-Log is 1600.
Wow,
it's crazy. Yeah, it's high.
But for me, already at 400, I can see that it's very grainy. So I'm kind of going back to like Cinelec D now, just to get the ISO lower. So
yeah, 100%.
Yeah.
The one thing with Sony's that I'm very fortunate with is that they have really good light shooting capabilities. So like I can push the ISO and not be super worried about it.
Right.
Because that's like always my worry. It's like when I am helping them with S-Log, like dude, like ISO's like at like 1600, like I'm like, no, it'll be fine. And then like it's typically great. I'm like, oh, interesting. Crazy. I try to keep it no more than like 200. I mean, obviously. But
yeah.
Crazy.
I try to stay like below 400 as often as possible.
100%. Absolutely.
So much grain like as soon as you go up a little bit, especially with a Micro Four Thirds camera.
Yep.
So yeah, we talked a little bit about camera settings, and Um, do you have like some? This could be basically anything, but do you have like some tips for content creators that are just starting out, like something that you learned along the way? It can be like some setting or some equipment that you're always using, or something that you do in a different way right now that you changed.
I have a couple. Like one on like the business side of it, just stay consistent, work for free, level up your clients anytime you can. For a freelance, you want to like get hired to your clients, you need to make sure that you keep trying to level up the clients you work with. Because if you keep working for people who will pay you $100 per hour, you will stay there until you're leveling up. Meaning like just like for me, that was a goal that I had, was like any time that I like even a follower account, like work with somebody that has like 5,000 followers, and then do some content for somebody that has 10,000 followers, and then 20,000 followers. Like keep leveling up your content, because if not, you're just gonna stay stagnant. You're gonna work with regular people, which is fine if that's you. But I find a lot of people get stuck in a certain type of price point because they're too nervous to go up. Keep trying to level up you deserve it as a creative. Um, let's see. People who want to get into content creating, don't let your equipment hold you from making sick content. I know a lot of people who won't start something because they don't feel like they have the right equipment. Value will always come before equipment. I know a lot of friends who are gearheads but really don't know how to use the tool. Like they'll have tons of tools but know how to use any of them. So if you have your camera, one lens, and a shotgun mic, learn how to use those to the best of their ability, right? And then slowly start like mastering everything else. That's so crucial, dude. I know a lot of people just like get lost in like, well, I can't do this because I don't have this gear. Well, like, dude, figure it out. Be creative. Like, they force creativity. Fuck, I had some other pieces. There's so much advice that I can give.
Just throw them at
I'm
me.
sure it'll. Yeah. Damn it, dude! I had so many. I can't think of it right now. Damn it! I'm sure as we talk, maybe I'll go.
If you come up with something, you can just interrupt or
I'll
put
interrupt
it
you.
in
Be like,
whenever.
Yeah. Nice. Oh, one complaint that I have to all you creators out there: effects. Like, stop drowning your edits with effects, dude. Like, you could only use static things for so much, where it just starts like soup.
Right, I think I lost your audio. Let's see.
Mine there.
Now I can hear you again.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Am I choppy?
No, it's working well. Now I just need to change the size. So yeah, there you go. Back in normal size again. Yeah, so you talked about effects. People overusing
dude, like
effects.
Dude, I see so many creatives online who just drown their edits with effects, and it just takes away just from the story. The best analogy that I've heard is like girls that wear a lot of makeup typically look silly, right? The girls who put on like makeup like nicest are the ones you don't notice a lot of it. Use transitions and effects very subtly. Pixar has this great quote, is they basically, not a quote, a saying where like the best visuals are the ones you don't notice. And the more you can master that, the better you are as a creative. Like, they slowly make their shit better. Like, eyeballs on like some of the animated stuff look so beautiful compared to what they used to back then, because they're super like obvious, and like they blend it in well. And like I know a lot of creatives who start, they depend on like glitching every 10 cent stuff, and it just takes away from it. That's more of a rant than a piece of advice, but focus on storytelling. Use transitions and glitch effects only if it adds to the story. That's it. Welcome. Thanks for coming to my TED Talk.
When it adds to the story, it doesn't distract from the story.
Exactly.
Wh-
But yeah, that was one I was thinking of.
Yeah, when we're talking about transition, one thing that I can throw in is just how underrated um, crop transitions is, I think, because that's where you can really hide the
Oh, okay.
transition.
100%. Yeah,
So
I agree.
yeah, so for people that are not familiar with it, you maybe, for example, you are filming something and you're doing a movement around an object, and then when you come out on the other side, then you show another clip there, and then you kind of crop out that object. Or if you have like a car passing by, then you crop the car and follow the crop on the
Yeah,
car. So we kind of reveal the
yeah. And the
next
more you
scene.
do it, 100%. I love those. And the more you start using, the more you like will start realizing those
Yeah.
shots when as you're filming. You're like, okay, cool. Like this pull right here will be a good,
Mm.
you know what I mean? Like crop transition point. Yeah,
I
good
like I
call.
like the comparison with how you described it with the makeup, because now I
Yeah,
kind of realize that it really makes sense that you don't put on a certain like setup on your face. You kind of have to adjust to how your face is looking and how you want it to look. So that's basically the
exactly.
same when you're doing video editing. If you want it to look better, you need to look at what type of content you have and how you can make that better, instead of just dragging and dropping a
Yeah.
transition on top of it.
Yeah, dude. A girl told me like makeup is supposed to be a feature, not like make it like obvious, right? And
Mm,
like make it look silly. And that's what effects should be. You should use them to
mm,
enhance a moment or like a scene, like a talking point,
mm.
as opposed to just like, oh, this made me look cool.
Yeah,
Slap it on there. Like make these effects and transitions purposeful.
yeah.
Boom.
And just to clarify, we're talking about video editing here, so we're not talking about how people
Video
should
editing.
do
Yeah.
makeup, because that's not
Yeah. Yeah.
our
Exactly. Exactly.
expertise area. But it's a good
100%.
way to describe it, though, because it's something that a lot of
Good
people can
analogy.
relate to. Um,
Yeah.
so now, when a lot of stuff is happening, I'm jumping a little bit back and forth here between subjects, but now when a lot of stuff is happening digital, uh, how how is your, like, I call it digital infrastructure, like what kind of apps or tools do you use for organizing your footage and organizing your tasks to like plan your days and stuff like that? Is Do you have like a specific structure for that, or yeah, like what are the common things that you use, common apps and softwares and stuff?
Yeah, yeah. So I'm typically the most unstructured, unorganized person that I know, and it's so sad. And I'm very grateful that I've like built this team that can help me organize my life and give me some sort of structure because I'm the worst. I'm the guy where if you looked at my desk, you would want to die. There's just like files and like just everything everywhere. It's a hot mess. But my team is like forced me to like input like just structure my folders a lot better. So now I typically have like we have one well, a handful of hards, but we'll have one main hard drive where we'll dump all the footage in for that. We organize it by month
Mm,
and then by log number, and then within the vlog folder there's 5 files. There's a project folder, footage folder, music folder, graphics folder, and then my export folder. That's how I do everything, and I'll
mm,
typically throw everything on my SSD, so I'll have a copy on here. That way I can just work mobile.
right.
But then we'll have like um, we use like these lacy hard drives. It's like 10 terabytes. We'll just store everything on
Mm.
here.
The RAID ones.
Yeah, the RAID ones. Yeah, yeah, yeah. But that's as far as like that's the furthest amount of structure or the highest amount of structure in my life,
Mm.
dude. Everything else is like chaos. I like thrive in that.
Yeah.
It's unfortunate.
So do you have like structure within the project itself also, like how you have the files and what to start with, or do you like
Yeah,
freebase that stuff?
Yeah, no. So I'll typically, so as I'm like importing the footage to my project, I'll basically import everything from like B-roll to like talking, like good talking points, or like the walkthroughs I call it, and then I'll pick selects, and then I'll sort out like selects and my B-roll, and um, it, dude. It's so different every time, unfortunately.
Mm.
I find exciting, funny moments to just throw at the beginning, and then everything else kind of just flows into place once I've kind of seen all the good parts. Eventually, I want to get to the point where like I could build this team big enough where I could just like have somebody just find selects for me that I could just
Mm.
dive into the edit. That's just me being I guess. But that's kind of just it, dude. I usually start with music. Music is like my biggest inspiration. So like I'll go
Mm.
on Music Bed, it's the service we use, and I'll find a song like hits me.
Mm.
I'm like, oh shit, okay, cool. Then I'll pull that song, and then I'll set markers on the beats of the
Mm.
song. So if there's like kick, kick, kick,
Yeah.
marker, and then just make cuts accordingly.
Right. Is that like
Yeah, that's as
the
far as.
uh, if we like divide it into different steps of editing, is it like choosing the B-roll and the talking points, and then you pick the music, and then you start the actual edit? Is it that
I'll
order
do
or?
is so what I'll do is I'll put on my selects and be on a timeline with no particular order,
Mm.
and then like once I go into like my main timeline, I'll find one song kick off the whole thing.
Mm.
So like I'll spend hours, dude, just going through music and like find a song that like sets the tone,
Mm.
and then like once I find it, boom, I'll import the song and then a hook, and then like I kind of just go through there, and I typically like the middle portion of it's typically like an emotional, like sentimental type of thing. So like I'll find a song for that, but I usually start my timeline with music,
Mm.
and then everything else just piles on top of that. It's all energy, dude.
No.
To have I believe a successful YouTube channel, you need to have energy, dude. And if you can just use energetic music, energetic personality throughout, you'll be successful.
Mm.
Gary's so successful because he's so high energy and like
Yeah.
you notice it, you feel it, right? It's a transfer of energy. Ryan's the same way. He's so like he's so
Mm.
extra, right? Edits are so like in your face with like case. It's just that's what it is, dude.
I've heard that you should put like you should have like 10% higher energy level when recording video than talking in real life. Just because you need like
Yeah,
more energy to get your message through.
I agree.
And
I agree.
I think the audio part is it's kind of similar to like effects and transitions and stuff, that it has to suit what you're trying to tell also. Like you can have the best music,
It's
but if it doesn't match the footage, then it's kind of you don't get the message through. So
100%, dude. It's meant to enhance
mm.
the feeling or the mood you're trying to push, convey, whatever.
I think
Great point, my guy.
I realize right now when like when we're talking about this, that something that I wish that I knew when I started with like filmmaking and video editing is how how movies are built up with a storyline, and how they are using the beginning to catch the attention, and how they have like different parts in the video where you should be like at the different energy level, and how they're kind of taking it all together at the end. Yeah, there is like a specific way of building up your video, and I think if you know that when you're starting with filmmaking and video editing, you can kind of apply that even to shorter form videos.
Yeah, 100%. I make it a point, dude, to have like a roller coaster of like
mm,
energy levels and
yeah,
emotions, dude. Like I want you to feel pumped at the beginning,
mm,
but I also want you to like boom, like feel it in your heart, dude, if
yeah,
I'm like trying to push a message. So I try to have that like because you keep their attention longer,
yeah,
right? When you hit them more like where they didn't expect something and
mm,
it's like it's emotional, right? You're like, oh shit, okay, cool, stay long. Like, it's just that trick that knowing how to use that like wave of different emotions
mm.
and stuff. So yeah,
I,
exactly what you're saying.
yeah, and I think it's like it's about contrast as well. Like if you have that like high energy music in the beginning, maybe you need to have some other type of music to kind of get to another energy level to kind of feel the difference depending on where you want the viewers go or to feel.
Right. I agree, dude.
Yeah. So
Completely agree.
there's so much to it that we can dig deep into and talk about.
I can talk forever, dude.
Yeah. So is there anything else, like any tool or any app or anything that you, maybe something that isn't like the first thing that people think about, but some life hack or something that you are using when you're filming or editing or?
Life hack. Nah, dude, honestly, I try to keep things as simple as possible. I try to remove as many steps as possible because the more steps you have and the more tools you have, the more you have to think about things. It's so easy to overthink things when there's so many options on the table.
Yeah.
I think it's really just learning to work with what you have, I think is the best foundation you could build for yourself. Because if you're somebody who has all these tools and stuff, again, it becomes a distraction. So, um, life hack, dude, cut away as much fat as you can, dude. Try to cut away as many steps as you can and work that way. And then once you learn how to like work with what you have, you will later have like tools and you just like it's just easier to work that way and you could build that foundation up when you know how to work with like the bare minimum. As far as go, uh, again, tools what you have in here, dude. Like literally, if there's anything you learn how to storytell.
Yeah.
That's it, dude. How to like find those pieces of value. Again, like that's the most important thing when it comes to making content is portraying emotion, portraying, making people feel a certain way. Because you could say a bunch of things, but if you don't make them feel a certain way, you're gonna lose them, and then they're gonna forget all about you.
Yeah. Also, one like challenge that people can do to kind of develop is to kind of similar to what you're saying, to like remove equipment and maybe going out with only one lens or only filming a vlog with a GoPro or like something that it's different to what you're used to doing, just to kind of push those boundaries and be more creative. And then when you go back to film the regular way, you have noticed stuff that you wouldn't have noticed if you didn't try that.
Yeah, dude, there's a good story, dude. I don't know if we have time, if you have time for it, but there's this.
Yeah, of course.
It's quickly. There's this photographer that I follow, and he was just getting into photography, and he was super limited to his camera though, and he wanted more than anything to be a photographer, and he finally landed this magazine opportunity, and the only problem was it printed in black and white, and what he did, he's like, well, fuck, photos really only show because like the color that I use and stuff. So it's like, you know what? What I'm gonna do is I'm gonna find a way to use a photo to bleed into the negative space of the magazine. So like he'll find something that's black and white and then use the white spot to kind of bleed into like the rest of the color of the paper. And he just blew up that way. So it's because of that limited accessibility, he was able to build something super massive. He just adapted and figured out a way to use it, dude.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I thought that was so clever.
Yeah.
So really knowing the tools you currently have, like really know how to use them and figure out ways to use them creatively.
Yeah. Definitely. I want to jump into some like random questions, I guess you can say.
Let's go. Let's do it.
So it's a little bit everywhere here, but yeah. So the first question is, what do you look forward to right now?
What do I look forward to? My goal, dude, is to become bi-coastal, dude. My kids still live in California. It's like super brutal. They don't live here at the moment. They were here, and then they recently moved back, and it's so hard, dude. So I'm looking forward to by the end of this year, my goal is to be bi-coastal, to live in both New York and California. And I'm doing that by building this project. I really can't speak about it too much just because it's super I don't want to say low key because it sounds. We're working on a project that we really can't talk about until July. So look at July 1. It's the best thing I've ever worked on. And yeah, so to answer your question, being bi-coastal, being able to live in California and New York, working on this project that I put like my heart and soul and like my life into.
Right.
You guys will see what I'm talking about. July 8th, most likely.
I'm gonna write
I'm
down the
excited.
day. Write down the date.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure.
So another random question: if you could eat dinner with anyone in the world, dead or alive, who would that be?
Oh, damn. Oh man, that one's brutal.
Yeah.
This is gonna sound so lame. David Dobrik. You know who that is?
I recognize the name.
He's a YouTuber, and that answer's so lame. But that kid is very interesting, and I really want to know how his mind works and how he creates his content. This kid basically perfected creating 4 minute and 20-second long vlogs that just pull in like an average of like 10 million views per video, or something like that. And he's just built this empire, dude. I just love to like learn how he goes about these things. And like, dude, he's a good, perfect example. The footage doesn't look great all the time, but it's great story. It's entertaining. You know, he uses like Final Cut Pro to like edit, which is fine, but you know what I mean? He This kid is super interesting. He's only like 23. He's, I don't know. So him.
Right.
I'm a kid myself.
Yeah.
I'm a man child.
I need to check him out.
So him.
For sure.
Yeah.
So this might be a hard question, but what's one thing people don't know about you?
Well, people don't know about me. I am very insecure as a creative, and a lot of creatives do not like to admit that. But I still am very insecure about my work, and I'm lucky to have coworkers who are very supportive. And it's just I'm really hard on myself, dude, and like it's a gift and a curse, right? Because it forces the best version of I can, but I notice I stop myself from doing a lot of things because I'm like very insecure about some of the work that I put out. And it's hard to admit, but like the more I talk about it, the more I find out that other creators have that same insecurity about their stuff. Yeah, I can appear like very confident like my work and stuff, but I mean, again, social media only allows you to see like the good stuff. But yeah, like I'm taking up photography, dude. I'm really like challenging myself to take photos. I've archived like I think the last photos were like photos that I took. I've archived like 12 photos probably in total that I just didn't feel right about. And like in retrospect, they're good photos. I'm like, oh no, they're not good enough. And they are, I think. I don't know. It's that. And that like not to beat yourself up for that. So like the value part of that is like for all the creators out there who don't feel like they're good enough, like don't beat yourself up for it, but like use it as a motivation to like get better. But like don't let that stop you from trying new things. Boom.
I'm starting to think about how like all the stuff that Gary talks about, it's kind of covers that topic a little bit, like the document over create and stuff. And also like even if other people are doing the same stuff as you or creating the same things or saying the same things, it's still the stuff that you do are coming from like your head and it's your voice saying it. So you can always even when you don't think that something is good enough, it's still personal because it's from you. So
100%.
So I think sometimes people underrate that and think that they just compare themselves with other instead of trying to figure out like their voice and how to tell the thing that they want to tell, even if they think that it's the same as someone else is doing.
Dude, that's a great point, dude. Like, and as much as I preach this, like, stop comparing yourself to other people.
Mm.
Like, I do that myself a lot, but you really hold yourself back from putting out,
Yeah.
work. Um, yeah, I'm actually gonna throw my roommate under the bus. My roommate is one of the most talented creators I've ever met, dude. His name is Coy White.
Mm.
Not Coy White on Instagram. He's so talented, dude. Probably like what I'm technical, my favorite technical creatives ever. And I was telling him like, bro, just put out more content.
Yeah.
Like, just put it out there.
Yeah.
And he holds him sometimes. It's just like, Coy, you're so fucking
Yeah.
good. And yeah, he's listening to me, I think. I'm sorry. But yeah, man. So it's not, if you're insecure about your work, like, don't be. Like, we all go through it, is what I'm trying to
Mm.
stress. The best way to combat that is just put it out there and just, use it as like motivation to just get better.
Yeah. So, speaking about stuff that is underrated, what's a underrated place in New York, in your opinion?
Ro- Roosevelt Island, dude. It's this little island right off of Manhattan, and it's so cool. Nobody
Mm.
ever goes there. You can only drive in one way, or you can go in through like a tram. But it's super pretty. Nobody's ever there. But it's probably one of my favorite places, Roosevelt Island. That's one of my favorite spots. I haven't been there in a while, but it's so pretty. There's some really cool little like spots to take photos or just hang out, have like a little picnic. It's super nice.
Mm.
Yeah.
So, what we are continuing on the same topic of underrated things and people. So, if you would give a shout out to someone right now, to who would that be and why? And maybe someone that people don't know so much about, or could be anyone.
Um, I think this is like such a cliche, like stock answer, but like probably my mom. And I know that's such a cop out, but like the number of times I called my mom crying, dude, like throughout this whole process, it's unreal, dude. Like, I wanted to give up so many times, man. I wanted to like, just give up. And my mom really just like enforced me and really like pushed me to do these things and just to keep going, and just reminds me like all the things that I've done. When like I forget that I've accomplished so much, you forget that as a creative or like as a person, dude. It's really easy to discredit those like little wins, dude. And like like she's always really good at reminding me like the feats that I've like overcome. And I don't give her enough credit, and I don't talk, dude. I'm about to tear up right now. Like, I don't to her as much as I should, but like my mom, dude, is the reason why I'm sitting here today. Still, right? So my mom.
Mm.
But also a second like person. Like, all my friends are great, dude. So I can shout all my friends. But the second one, dude, is my 8-year-old son, Landon.
Mm.
If honestly, if it wasn't for him asking for a YouTube channel when he was 4 years old, I would not be here at all, dude. I'd still be stuck at Verizon, dude. I would have never making videos. Dude, the last thing I ever wanted to do was make videos. I thought it was annoying, like just a waste of time. But because he wanted to like start a YouTube channel, I loved it, dude. And I swear to God, I wouldn't be in New York. The idea of New York, I would have never found out who Gary was. Like, none of that, dude. If it wasn't for my son wanting to try some new things, and my son is my absolute blessing, dude.
Mm. And I want to take the chance to thank them as well, because with the content that you're creating, you has been really inspiring to me on my journey with your creative way of putting together the micro content. I'm always curious when you were active with the Work for Gary V account, looked at every new piece of content that you're putting out there. So yeah, I can't
Yeah.
stress that enough. It's really inspiring. So
Thanks, man. I really appreciate that, dude. And like watching you from afar, dude, like it's super impressive, man. Like you're very persistent, and like your work is actually like, it's great, dude. Like I see yourself on Instagram, and I'm just looking at your YouTube channel right now, and it's like, dude, you're incredible, dude. And for you to like go above and beyond, like it's amazing, dude. So it's very inspiring to see what you're doing. I'm super proud of you, bro. Like
thanks,
I
man.
know it's like the first time we're really talking, and
Yeah,
I feel like we've known each other for a while. This is like the first time we're talking. I can't stress how amazing I think you are, dude. So keep it up, man.
thanks, man. I give you a virtual hug from here, from Sweden.
Hugs are illegal here in New York, bro.
Oh, this is the only way
Just
people
kidding.
can hug these days.
I know.
Well.
Crazy.
So before we end this, I have a final question, and that is there something that we can help you with? And then I mean both me and the people that are watching this. If there's something you need help with, it could be work or like finding an apartment or tips, ideas about anything, or
Ooh, I can't, not at the moment. It's just a more general thing, and this is just annoying, but be more supportive within our community. Like our creative community could be so strong and so powerful. Um, as a creative community, I think we need to drive at like hyping each other up and supporting each other. And I fall in that trap. I should do a better job at it. So that, as far as like me personally, and I'm very lucky. I have a good amount of help at work. Um, but if I think of anything, I will let David know and
yeah,
see how we could work as a community
yeah.
to overcome that.
That's one of the best things when you're creating trying to grow a YouTube channel and like getting more views and subscribers, that you have a bigger chance to actually help someone. So that's
Yeah,
something
100%.
that I definitely want to be able to achieve as this channel continues to grow, to create this kind of community where people can reach out to each other and help each other. So you never know who's
100%.
watching and what they can
You
help
never
with.
know, dude.
So
Yeah, I love that. I love that.
yeah, thank you for joining this live episode. I really appreciate it. I feel like time is really running away.
Oh wow. Yeah, you're right.
I think it's one.
But this is awesome, dude.
Yeah.
I had a lot of fun talking to you, dude. We should do this actually off camera eventually, bro. I'd love to just talk to
Yeah,
you more.
definitely.
Cool.
Yeah, cool. So I'm going to, right after this live, I'm going to update the video description with the social media links to your account, so people can check you out and see what you're doing and reach out to you if they want to and follow your stuff. And
You're the man, dude. I appreciate it.
yeah, and I'm gonna put some timestamps in the comment section below so that you can click to different parts of the live episodes later. So if you are watching this afterwards, you can probably see those timestamps already if you want to
Amazing.
move to a specific part in the episode.
Amazing.
So yeah, once again, thank you for joining, and thanks everyone for watching. I hope to see you in the next episode.
Thanks, David.